Good morning. I'm Marcia Boyles. This is Friday, February 17th. I'm delighted this morning to begin our conversation with Eric Whitson, who is our Director of Sales. Welcome, Eric. I'm always glad to have you on. You're always cheerful and have good, positive things to say.
It's always a delight to be here, and such a short walk from my office.
It is indeed. It didn't hardly take you any time at all, did it?
I was on time, no.
Eric, you and I talked a little bit before the program started about the fact that I would be curious to know, and I think our viewers probably would be too, to know what kinds of changes you're seeing fairly recently, particularly with the baby boomer population, in terms of their interests and attitudes and concerns as potential residents.
Right. Well, I don't know. The thing we always hear is everybody wants more young residents, too. I don't know if that's new or different, but you know, I think that's a growing trend, and it's interesting because we have a group of new residents in their 60s that have friends that they're trying to convince. That's the best way for us to get new young residents is like convince your friends. But I don't know. You mentioned when we started talking technology. Every day there's more people that are going to bring their cell phone, so they need cell service. They want to know about internet service. I think our switch to wireless internet was a great move.
We had the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we had someone that, I guess when we installed it, had 14 different devices connected. So there's some people that are pretty tech savvy
Eric, I don't
here.
think there's any question about the fact that many, I mean, most of us I think have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think that's common, but I hear lots of people say I have 6 or 8.
And I don't know where technology is going. I mean, an interesting question I get from a lot of people is programmable thermostats, for example.
Yes.
And for me, they'd be too complicated to operate. But a lot of people have them at home now, but we don't offer them here. Are these types of things like the smart technology in your home, where you can program your lights, your oven,
pot, yes,
all of those
right,
things? Are those things that people will expect in the future? They're going to have them in their homes before they move here, so they may well want them after they move to Green Spring.
Good point.
Now, you had talked about, I think, more medical-related types of technology for care in the home.
Monitoring almost everything you're doing, your sleep patterns, your heartbeat.
Like they do at NASA when I'm with the astronauts, right? They're keeping track of everything.
That's right.
Wow. So I'm trying to think of what else. I think that the first thing that comes to mind for me is fitness. We have plans to redo Town Center to increase the amount of space for the pools and fitness center, because this is something that's going to be in greater demand in the coming years.
One of the things that, as you and I were talking, we had 3 weeks ago, we had Steve Magg here from Leading Age, and he talked about the baby boomers, and one of the things he said was that the baby boomers are not going to get old, they say. Yeah. And so fitness is extremely important to baby boomers, and this is what you're saying as well.
80's the new 40. Is that right? Could be.
Well, this is what we're told.
Or people expect that, but I think that's true, and so a lot of people are coming in with a very active lifestyle that they intend to keep for some time.
Eric, the fact that we don't have things like tennis courts or 3 holes of golf or whatever, is that a problem in terms of potential residents? I don't think it's a
problem.
I mean, do they see it as an issue?
I'm trying to imagine the costs associated with building a CCRC that had enough space to offer those types of amenities. I think right now people live in a home and they may belong to a country club.
Right.
And they move here, they're still a member of, say, Springfield Golf and Country Club.
Yes, there definitely are folks that do that.
So I don't know that people would expect that here, but I think about the tie between the cost of living here at Green Spring and the initial investment to buy the land and develop the community. So if you said, all right, instead of 58 acres, we need 150 acres, but you're not adding more residents. I feel like it would be cost prohibitive to try to build in all these resort amenities I'm no development expert, but it would seem like it would be very expensive to do that. And we don't have the choice because there's no land right next to us.
No, we don't, and I don't think the county will allow any more stuff built on the land we have. When I first started looking at CCRCs about 10 years ago, there were certainly some with tennis courts.
Yeah.
My own sense is that the average person in their 80s and 90s probably is not going to be playing tennis.
Yeah.
There are certainly some who do. We do have pickleball here, and that I think kind of takes the place of that.
And there are other retirement communities that have outdoor pickleball. Like multiple outdoor pickleball courts where you might have, like I think in Florida, I've heard of this.
Sure.
And again, wouldn't it be nice if we had more land? But I think that's, if I'm 70, I stopped playing tennis a long time ago.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm only 55.
Oh,
not
for
quite.
heaven's sakes.
But I saw because it's really hard on the joints.
Terribly hard. Yes.
Tennis, but so I don't think people will be doing that more, but I think they'll be doing it elsewhere. Now in West Palm Beach, Erickson has a community that we picked up a few years ago called Devonshire, and it's next to PGA National Resort and Spa.
I remember that.
Now there's an example of a resort destination that has a retirement community associated with it.
Yes.
Now maybe that is a direction for which probably be more part of the resort real estate development business. Is that a crossroads that are going to come together, which is the resort business and the retirement community business?
Well, that would certainly be a niche, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the average person probably that I can think of here, this is not going to be a big thing, and I suppose if it is a big thing, you just maybe would not pick Green Spring, which is fine.
Yeah, but I don't know. Right now, there's not a lot of other alternatives.
Well, I think you'd have to go maybe to the Shenandoah Valley or something.
Perhaps.
To be getting lots of land.
But the challenge there is, and this has to do with development, the way we look at building retirement communities, you need to find affordable land near a large population that is approaching our target age of 70 to 85. And so you're looking at big metropolitan areas in order for them to make sense.
Yes, exactly. All right. What other kinds of interests are you finding in the part of?
Well, one of the things we talked about was, will we be retiring at the same age that we used to, retiring from our careers? Now, my father worked for IBM all his career and then retired, took the 55-year retirement package. He's been retired for 30 years. I'm quite jealous of him.
With a pension.
Well, yeah, and a lot of our residents have pensions. We have a very high rate of pensions here at Green Spring compared to other areas of the country because of the federal government and the contractors here in the federal government. But that's starting to go away a little bit, and I think people's futures are more tied to their own savings, and I know from my contemporaries, people don't save as much as they used to. So the need might be to work longer. So we are already seeing new residents coming in that still have a job. Versus I retired 20 years ago, now I'm going to retire to Green Spring. I'm going to move to Green Spring and keep my job. So what does that mean? That means that they're getting up early in the morning, going to work. Maybe they're catching the metro shuttle, getting on the train, going into the city. It means maybe they're getting home at 6 or 7 at night, and when they're ready to eat at 7:30 or 8, where are you going to eat at 8 o'clock here at Green Spring? Right. I guess in my apartment, but I paid for a meal. So I know residents that are in that situation, and they take their meal to go. They got to plan ahead, right? They got to figure that out. If that trend continues, and we've got a critical mass of people that need more flexibility in when they eat, that's a change we need to think about down the road. So, but you can't just, and I assume Social Security is going to be around. I'm hoping it's going to be around, but I have to plan how long am I going to need to make an income, and how am I doing on savings. So there's more people coming in that are working. That's a trend. We've seen a trend of people not getting one apartment, but 2 apartments. One to live in and one to work. Maybe they have their own business and they need a small apartment. Maybe if you start your own business, I have a small apartment for you.
All right.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
I will definitely do that.
So I'm trying to think what else. So we had talked about healthcare.
Yes. What kinds of differences are you seeing in terms of attitude about that?
Well, people are going to live longer, right? We're finding that. You said men are
yes.
really the difference between men and women and their how long their longevity is. The difference is shrinking. So that's good news for everybody.
Yes, it is. It's down to just I think a year and a half or 2 years. The other, although one thing, Eric, that I was a little bit surprised to see recently is that we are not now living older.
Yeah.
That it has leveled off and actually decreased just slightly. Like
and what is
about
causing that? I remember hearing something about that.
I think that there are a number of theories.
Yeah. What I heard on NPR must have been true if it was on NPR, right?
Of course.
The opioid crisis, where we have people in their 20s that are passing away. So that's part of what's driving that mortality rate down. It's not not necessarily people, getting to 60,
Is
70,
it
80.
Statistically enough people that are dying at that age that's changing?
And a suicide rate. I don't mean to bring your show down here.
No, that's right.
But there are some factors. Those are two factors that are impacting the mortality rate. But the idea that I think when you get to be 60, 70, your odds of living longer keep increasing. I mean, and so people are very concerned about the offerings of healthcare. I think that bodes well for the CCRC business because this is a place where you don't move again.
Right. You'll be taken care of.
Well, technically, you move one more time, but you have all the necessary facilities, no matter what your situation. And we're getting more people that want to know about that. When they're 60, they're 65, and they want to know
about the continuing care portion of it.
Yeah, and it used to be, before I got into this business, I understand that in the sales office, we didn't talk about it. We don't want to talk about getting old. We don't want to talk about getting sick. We don't want to talk about health care, even though that's such a key part of what we do.
Yes.
But now, people want to know about it, and we're talking about it.
People are actually asking.
Yeah, they want to, when they visit independent living,
that interesting?
They want to go visit assisted living. I want to see what that looks like. And
is it a greater level of sophistication on the part of the new potential?
I think it's definitely educated. Plus, the healthcare is just sort of in this constant crisis in our country, and
the
people are
funding
focused on it.
Yes.
So they want to know what their options are. That's why I'm delighted that this month we're really starting to actually do work in Garden Ridge to update that facility, because when people are making a decision to move to Greenspring or not, they want to know if they end up going to assisted living, what's that going to be like? And so in a year, we're going to have this new building there that's going to be, on the level of anything else that's new that's being built across the country. And right now, that building it's a great facility, but it's 10 years old.
Are shovels actually going in the ground?
There's no shovels in the ground yet. They're going to put a fence up this month. That a construction fence and a construction entrance, which, right outside where the sign is, there's a little space you come around the pond. And so the trucks won't be entering and exiting here. But in the next month or so, we're going to start working on some of the interior spaces. And I don't know when there'll be some groundbreaking ceremony.
All right, but all this is coming up soon.
Yeah, I know we keep saying it, but it's actually happening. We actually have a general contractor. We've got a construction schedule.
Got permits.
So yes, the permits are in. So it's good news, but we need it because people need to see that we're taking the future seriously.
Yes.
If we want to stay full, we have to stay competitive. And so all these conversations about trends for the future.
Right.
I know residents want to say, well, I'm here now. What are you doing for me now? And hopefully we're very focused on what we're doing for residents now. But I hope everybody appreciates what we need to do for residents, 5 years from now.
Right. And those and baby boomer residents are coming in.
Yeah.
So the future is here.
Yeah.
From that step.
No, everybody still says, well, I'm not going to move there because I'm young and healthy, meaning they want to wait until they're old and not healthy.
Right.
We're working on that. Because we want them here when they're young and healthy. That's the time to be here.
Well,
you and I are here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, there certainly are advantages to moving in. I think one's level of engagement, if you move in when you're very old and very sick, are quite limited.
Yeah.
And certainly, as you and I discussed, the issue of sociability.
Right.
Certainly is a major one in a place like that.
And I think the need for continuing education, which a lot of residents are focused on.
Yes.
is going to be a big part. We're going to see more and more people wanting to get involved with our learning, Lifelong Learning International, and those types of organizations.
Yes. Okay. Well, Eric, this has been extremely interesting and helpful. Anything you want to leave us with? I say our time is up.
We should have had a crystal ball. Wouldn't that have been fun? We could do a little crystal ball, because this is you and I predicting the future. I love that.
And I could have dressed as a gypsy.
Yeah.
I missed my opportunity.
Next time.
All right. Eric, many thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.